How to be on the warpath to supersize and grow your business. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, sipping my peace tea with my motivational messages on it with my buffalo mug, thinking about being on the warpath. On the warpath, of course, means to be very, very angry, to be infuriated, to be livid or super duper upset and out for blood and war with respect to a topic or subject. It's from the mid-1800s, of course. Native Americans at that time in America Native Americans in America were often found to be at war or in squabbles with settlers, and I guess they were wars, they weren't squabbles, people were killing each other. War over land, generally over land, with neighboring tribes, other tribes, as well as with settlers in the area of their thing. And so it often led to literal rage and wars and battles over land and disputes. And of course, we know how that all turned out. Not necessarily great for anybody involved. So being on the warpath, what came to be known as being in a total rage. And by the 19th century, it had gone from being, literally tribes battling in wars, or people and settlers battling one another, to meaning anytime anybody was in a rage over anything. Well, now how many of us haven't at one point in time in our lives been in a rage over something? Guilty. When I was a kid, when I was a little girl, my family would tell me to pop the cork because I was always bent out of shape and all excited and impassioned about something or other. It was probably something about what a neighbor kid had said to one of my sisters, but I was on the warpath about something much of my childhood, much of my youth, and not necessarily in a negative way, fighting against things, but fighting for things that I believed in, that I believed were right, that I was passionate about, that I thought would make the world a better place, would make things more just and right for people that I felt were like the underdogs, or were at somehow being picked on, right? Can't stand a bully. I hate bullies. Bullies are ridiculous. And there's so much grown-up bullying going on in the world right now. It's kind of mind-boggling. Topic for another day. So, me on a mission is me on the warpath. I've literally been accused of being on the warpath before in different organizations in corporate America and in different businesses and things that I've led. I'm sure my ex-husband thinks I was a real bear in our relationship because there were things that I believed in and I stuck to my guns on and held steadfast and strong and true to my core values and beliefs and missions, which is probably part of the reason that we're divorced today. Have you ever had or worked in a business or been in a company where you had a boss? Or sometimes I worked in industries that were audited by outside third independent parties, right? That we paid to audit us and tell us what we were doing wrong. And some auditors, just like some bosses, come in with a vengeance and want to find and point out everything you're doing wrong. Ever had a performance review like that with a boss that, you've had this awesome year, you've done all these amazing things, and all they can do is emphasize and point out the things that they think that you're not perfect at, or you're not just like them with respect, or that you could have done better, right? I used to hate performance appraisals, and I had to do thousands of them throughout my corporate career because the systems that the companies I worked for used were all focused on pointing out people's weaknesses instead of their strengths, not to how you go about getting the best performance out of people. We build people up by focusing on what they do well and then either helping them or supplementing them and finding other people that do the things that they don't do well. And unless, of course, there's a whole personality conflict and they don't fit with the organization, and then we shouldn't have hired them in the first place. So on the warpath, have you ever had a boss like that or an auditor like that? We used to have auditors come in from different organizations and sometimes you could just see them coming. They came with a chip on their shoulder. They came and they believed wholeheartedly that their job was to do whatever they could to make sure that you failed that audit and that you were doing something wrong. In corporate America, I think I sent the auditors away one time because we had an auditor like that was just ridiculous and horrible, and I wasn't going to deal with the person. I wasn't going to play their game and let them beat up an incredibly awesome organization that had worked so hard to make sure we were doing everything right. In my own business, I had an Italian food manufacturing business for like 35 years. And of course, USDA, Department of Agriculture, FDA, OSHA, we were regulated by all of them. And they would all come in over the decades, and it was always different personalities, different auditors. And you could spot the one a mile away that was coming in with the no matter what happens, no matter what you're doing, I'm going to find something wrong. And I'm proud to say that I frustrated a whole lot of auditors because they couldn't find things wrong. They could never find anything wrong. The only thing that we ever got dinged for was the FDA tried to beat us up over our labels, because in a small organization, you print labels and then you have to use them up, and they didn't like that. And it was never anything significant or health related. It was just, you know, there was a typo on one of our labels one time. Shame on me, shame on our label manufacturer for not catching it. But, you know, things like that they wanted us to throw away, you know, 100,000 labels, which is lots of money. Not that it's about the money, but it's about, does it really matter if the period is here instead of there? Yeah, no, not so much. So we have people like that, right? We have people like that in our lives that come into our lives. It's really interesting how, whether we're on the warpath about certain things depends on our current situation. There's a whole lot of people right now that are on the warpath about COVID-19. There's a whole lot of people that are on the warpath about politics and religion and all kinds of things that are going on. Some things we can affect and have an impact on, other things not so much, and we're just unnecessarily stressing ourselves out. So how do we turn anger into positives? How do we take something that we're upset or disturbed about and turn that into something that makes the world a better place? We do that through our businesses a lot, by solving problems and helping people, by truly championing the causes that they're interested in and that are important to them and are probably important to us, or we wouldn't have started our business in the first place. We treat everyone, and I feel like a broken record saying this, but we treat everyone the way we want to be treated. If we want to be elevated and treated well and decently and with kindness and honor and respect, well, then we darn well better be treating absolutely every other human being that we come in contact with in that exact same way. It's really interesting. On the warpath, I'm going to give a personal example. In my family, I'm from a family of 4 girls. There's 4 of us girls, and we had an AFS sister as well, with a totally different personality, which was really fun as teenagers to bring into our family. And she's been, you know, part of our family ever since. But as we approach cleaning, I'm going to share how we approach cleaning and how we approach COVID, because they're sort of related but not. One of my sisters, I'll talk about cleaning first because this one's a personal favorite of mine. I am a self-professed, admitted housework cleaning hater. And as my vision has gone downhill, my ability to clean things well has really tanked and gone down the toilet. I try to do dishes because there's things you've got to do whether you like it or not. You got to do dishes, you got to keep things cleaned up, you got to try to clean off stuff and keep it picked up. But I've never liked it. I mean, when it came time to clean the kitchen or go shovel out the barn, I was always the first to volunteer to go shovel out the barn for the shovel out the stalls for the horses and ponies, because that's how much I didn't like housework and cleaning. Well, I have another sister who, to her, cleaning is a stress reliever. It's one of her favorite things to do. She loves to clean and organize. Her house is, you know, always magazine ready, and it's her thing. And then I have another sister who has to get absolutely angry, pissed off, on the warpath to really clean or organize or do anything, even to decorate, which she loves to do. She has to get angry about it, and it's really, really hard to be around. So sometimes we used to decorate my parents' house for Christmas, and we'd all, the 3 of us that live in the area, would go to my mom and my dad's house when he was living, not my mom's house, and we would decorate. And the one angry sister had to get angry even to decorate. Wherever we put anything, she would move it around. It had to be in a certain place. And it was just her way of getting a task done. To me, not very fun and not very productive. And we've kind of all taken a different and kind of the same way we approach cleaning approach to the COVID-19 pandemic. Me, I just have been doing what I've been doing for the last couple of years and haven't really had to change much, because I've always been about setting up systems and processes, especially for things I don't like to do, to make them automatic. I either get somebody to do it, I delegate it, or I create a system that reminds me, makes it almost a habit and automatic to do the things that I got to do but I don't really love to do. I've done the same thing with COVID. I've pretty much automated everything that I need to do differently and made it an automatic system with respect to COVID. My other sister, who hasn't really had, 3 of the 4 of us have had massive health challenges over our lives. My youngest sister almost died of leukemia. I did die of a sudden cardiac arrest, and my older sister's had such a weird, varied medical history and has almost died so many times. I mean, more than a handful of times she's like been on her deathbed and had like really weird things I couldn't even describe. Well, the three of us have to take a very different approach to COVID than my other sister does. And the one sister's like, thinks it's ridiculous and we're doing all these things unnecessarily and why does everybody have to do these things? The three of us are like, hey, do what you got to do, but we are going to take personal responsibility and make sure we do what we have to do to stay safe. Go ahead, do what you want to do, world, but this is what I'm going to do. This is what each of us are going to do differently, because we know that we have compromised immune systems and we better be careful, or more careful than, you know, my 20-something kids, right? They don't have to be as careful. Although both my kids have to be careful, so because of their health, and my daughter's pregnant, so she's got to be careful too. But you know, the one is on the warpath, pushing against what's going on with COVID. No matter what, it's wrong. The rest of us are like, hey, we're just going to go with the flow. And that's the difference that each of us has, and we have the ability to decide how are we going to respond to things over time. Are we going to be negative and angry and upset and push against things, or especially in our businesses, are we going to lead by example, and are we going to embrace and find solutions and push for what's possible to make sure that we're making the world a better place? So that's my On the Warpath discussion today. I hope that you have an absolutely amazing day and that you don't find very many battles along the way. If I can help you in any way, ask in the comments below. Otherwise, be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where does it come from? How might you use it in your life and business right now? Take care.